and thank you for your patience this evening. Um, Not only did admins have a bit of a mare, my internet did a brief disconnection as well, but I am now back. As is Retro, who seems the only person amongst us that can keep it connected and on track as well. So we are just finishing off another lead-in practice session. The qualifying positions has now been unreversed, so now the drivers will appear. We are resuscitating Bonham as we speak. He didn't know quite what to make of being positioned at the back of the grid. So yeah, we've got another timer going, and then everybody's going to get another stab at turn 1 in Indianapolis in race 1, and then another stab at turn 1 in race 2. So if nothing else can be learned from FRL this evening, we may make mistakes, but we rectify them in good time. Speed is the name of the game, right, Retro?
Well, I don't know about speed because I don't know what speed is. But I mean, we're all human at the end of the day, guys. Unfortunately, we do make mistakes. Unfortunately, things can happen. I mean, someone in the admin office is going to get either fired or a severe punch up from Van der Wall afterwards.
Yeah. Someone's using their yellow name status. And there we have it. Grafe calmly restored back to the P1 position he earned.
I mean, if Gedman's close to an aneurysm, I mean, there's plenty of barriers he can safety check whilst he's doing it at the same time.
Absolutely.
£8.
The patrons are all of a sudden going to start sounding like a charity case.
For anyone that knows, the reason why I say this, because every time we used to commentate back in the F1 days, I used to say something all the time, and Greg used to put £1 in the pot, and he always used to absolutely take the Michael out of me. But now he started saying absolutely. In this one stream, he said it 8 times, so we're up to £8 in the kitty.
Oh, I didn't. I did wonder. I thought you said this is comments on people joining up to the Patreon. I'm thinking, why is he doing this such odd numbers? Oh no!
I mean, Black Friday's coming. I'm due a handbrake. I mean, you might pay for it at this rate, buddy.
The temptation to then respond to that with my little A word.
Ooh, it's getting juicy before it's even started. Don't worry about the racing, guys. Just listen to us throw absolute nonsense at each other.
What did I used to do like you for like? Was it just swearing?
No, it wasn't swearing. It was something really small, but it was like a conjoining word in a sentence, or I'd say it all the time without realising it.
Commentating is a funny old game. It drags you into habits.
I mean, yeah, especially when you've got to keep those habits clean for 2 hours, unlike my potty mouth retro nickname that you've given me over the years.
Yeah. We don't say hello to Retro in the normal way on this stream.
No. But you gotta watch your profanity.
Then again, once upon a time, a member of our commentary team that we did know did get plagiarised by Martin Brundle out of all people. We were the first people to refer to the twisty bit in Miami as the Mickey Mouse section, and then a week later, Martin Brundle brings it up on F1 commentary.
See, we should have copyrighted it, mate. Could have got a few quid out of that.
Yeah.
Maybe a film you quid out of your absolutely pot.
I
can see you scrambling for words. That don't say it. Don't say it.
Definitely.
Hey.
But we are definitely off and away in the right order. And S. Grafe is leading the way. Bonham has gone for that wide line once again. looking for a nice slingshot down towards turn 1. He did a lovely around the outside move into first turn in race 1 last time around. As I've just noticed, I'm no longer in helicopter camp. I'm going to quickly...
We got to wait for the race to start, if you remember.
If I can get it back. I can get it back.
Because I can't return to garage, now I'm in drive.
But that's alright. They'll still be going in a straight line by the time we're going back into it. We're getting going very, very soon. And off we go. It looks like Bonham has made exactly the same move as he did last time, but is Grafe going to be a bit harsh on the brakes this time around? We've got a great shot here. Grafe is down the inside. The straight seems to be going forever. Bonham goes deep on the brakes, but Grafe has followed him. Been very kind once again. Grafe has ended up giving that one up. I think he'll be campaigning for the starting block to be moved to the side of the track, because Bonham has absolutely done him like a kipper there. And that has invited Richings up behind as well. Richings, who's not in the position we keep flicking to.
It's Mornix that has slipped through, I believe, there.
It is
The
right.
timing lines has now updated.
So there we are, we're going to find some battles for you. So down, we've got Mr.
Korkamalakis is in the wall right down in beginning or end of sector 1 there.
That's going to be quite a big incident to send them all the way out there. They shouldn't have been carrying that much speed.
Speaking of speed, we've got G Brown in the Bentley barge getting swamped by Ferraris at the minute. I've used some of that Bentley barge grunt to pull a little bit of a gap there onto the banking.
So this angle definitely gives us a... Ooh, he has to brake very hard to stay out with the rear of Sharp. He's a bit slow around these corners, but skips through the grass nicely. And look at the ground he's gaining. It's momentarily in the slipstream in the corner, but here he goes. In the dry, the Bentley is hard to beat once it's up to speed. Gaining a metre every second on him. He's now ahead. But as we saw with the start of the race, what can Sharp do in terms of breaking down the outside? Oh, as we've got another Ferrari diving, what a move! But then he's lost out one. He pushes that back out to the outside. Is that Ainley? Ainley was getting blocked off there. And that is Revel with an enormous dive. But now Ainley's coming back at him. Ainley's up the inside. It's going to be the inside car all the way into the next turn. And Revel is going to have to back off just for now. But Revel, looking like he was going to take 3 cars in one momentarily. I've just picked up Clayton. A very fast Aston Martin. Can he make a dive into turn 8? Yes, he can. Oh, but he gets a tap. That brings him around. Jabino tries to rejoin.
Through goes Serpentine. Is that Serpentine? No, it's not. It's Demoyer, sorry. Same livery. My apologies, folks. Car 61, Demoyer there. Great split.
Yeah, good fair play by Jabino. Absolutely could have swung back onto the track. He was fully ahead. But now we have Clayton coming back. Clayton up the inside. They touch again, sending Jabino over the curb. He's now going to the inside line for the next corner. Squeeze Jabino to the curb. Jabino just about holds it together. But now what can Clayton do with Slipstream on De Moyer? De Moyer does get a good exit. But look at that Aston go. De Moyer weaving a little bit on the straight. There's his 2 moves gone. But can Clayton dive it to the inside? In turn 1. There he goes. Has he gone a bit deep? Yes, he has. De Moyer cuts back through. Great anticipation. We'll go back to Ainley, who has just overtaken Sargent there. Revel and Brown get a bit argy-bargy.
Just repeating what they did from Kota last week.
Oh, Revel.
Oh, Revel getting very close to the BMW Sergeant there.
We're just a bit more confident on the brakes, it seems. And he's doing a great job leading this way. He is advancing. But he's still not got a hold of Sharp just yet. Further back, I've just picked up Eden side by side with Kalugin, with Gedman ahead. Kalugin getting a bit feisty as he comes across the track.
Eden getting big on the brakes there. Filomeno also nearly got involved in that, but Kalugin, great traction zone there for the Porsche, but Eden does slip his way through.
We'll go back up to Sharp, who's closing on Gibino. Gibino, whose tyres have been very dirty over the last lap. Wonder if he's got those cleaned up yet. There's a wide berth for the apex. What will that do for his speed on the back straight, on the pit straight? Looks like the Ferrari's got a bit more speed. He's going to flick to the inside. Now what can Gibino do? Can he hang it around the outside? It's not been successful for most so far this race, apart from Bonham, who's made it work. Gibino with the traction of the Lamborghini is strong. Keeps it to the inside. Have to fight off. Ainley's there. Ainley's trying for a big switch back. He doesn't think he's going to get it. The corner's too wide as Sharp does go through. Oh, and then Ainley expected Gibino to move off and doesn't. Gibino has to take avoiding action for the car ahead, and now Ainley is in the grass.
They just missed out there, but it's a great battle between Sargent and Revel there down the straight. Revel on the inside, big on the brakes. G Brown and the Bentley barge closed in on the straight, but Revel put a great move into turn one, but Sargent's not letting him go just yet.
Black, yellow and blue fighting away. Then Sargent's got big over the curb, and that's allowed Brown along his inside. Ooh, and then gets squeezed
Brown
out.
Touches a bit of grass, it does slow him down.
And then Brown has to get out from the braking, and then dives it again and then misses out there. And that's invited Van der Waal into this fight. Van der Waal around the curving. This banking is from NASCAR, so you are pretty much flat out on it. And just saw Townsend had to get out from underneath the back of Sharp. It does look like Brown finding pace on the straight, as you might expect. But the BMW was also no slouch. Boat versus barge. Brown ducked to the inside momentarily. Sargent stayed headstrong, kept it in the middle of the track. Gave nothing for Brown to chew on. Ainley, who dropped lots of positions, I think has just got past Kalugin, who also seems to have dropped positions. Oh, as we go back to Brown and Sargent and Van der Waal, who are nose to tail. Brown is going for a very aggressive line down the outside. And Sargent defending for all he's worth. Well done on the brakes, fantastic, super well judged. Now Brown has to put some manners on Van der Waal, just swipes across. Says no, this is my line. Just going to nip up to Grace, who's found himself right up the rear of Richings. This is for P5. I think through the inner part of the track, the Porsche is strong. But on the straight, I think you probably put your money on the Ferrari. But with a bit of slipstream, he just seems to be closing.
He's reeling him in.
I don't think it's going to be quite fast enough for here. But I think the dive might come anyway. Oh, he shows his nose. What does that do for De Moya? De Moya's right there. He's capitalised on Grace compromising himself. But Grace showing his nose. Oh, as Richie does go wide. And Grace just says thank you very much, as does De Moya. Grace losing out massive. Richings losing out massively there. The Sargent is now lost out to Revel. 3 seconds is now the gap. Revel closing in on Gibino. two drivers that have very much moved in opposite directions in this race and found themselves meeting in the middle.
So De Moya is still hanging on to back of Grace though.
Richings not doing too bad at the back of this either.
And so Grave up into P2 at the minute. The closest I've seen him to Bonham, it did dip ever so slightly under a second, but Bonham's just pulled slightly out. But Grave does have the fastest lap at the moment, which currently inside a 1:35.7.
So it's like De Moya doing a great job, at least under braking. He's got a little bit sketchy coming onto the pit straight.
And so Richings behind is reeling. He's gone fishing. Not quite enough though, but he is catching.
And then
Clayton hot on the heels of Richings.
Yeah, definitely the fastest car out of the group. And Richings does seem to have found a bit of tyre temp now.
Ooh,
and he's coming back.
I'm not quite sure what happened there, but saw Jabino go across the grass. Sorry buddy, for turn 1. He's had a moment, but that's invited Revel right to him.
I do wonder if that was combat related, because Revel has got a lot of speed on him right now. Coming around the loop of turn 6, Revel showed just how much time he can gain on him. And when we get onto the straight, I do wonder what will become of this. Nothing down this one, but this is a much slower launch. Oh, as Jabino gets super spicy over the curb, Revel thinks better of it, diving it into turn 9. And now Revel struggling with the rear of his car. He's still close enough to mount a challenge onto the pit straight. I'm just going to... Jabino really struggling on the brakes. So Revel's here now.
Oh, just slightly behind, buddy. Got Van der Waal and G Brown. Jay Sharp as well behind. Townsend also hanging onto the back. There's going to be a bit of moves down the straight under slipstream, not quite sure. Revel on the inside of Jabino.
His nose is there, they
He
touch.
taps him.
Robbins racing, as they like to say. Revel with significantly different fortunes this race. He was spun around the start of the previous run-in of the race. Now Grave has got himself well under a second now. 8/10 is the gap. We'll keep a strong eye on that. Do wonder if that was a Bonham mistake. It's very much in his sight. We've got Sharp close on Clayton, but I think that's a position that Clayton has gained. No, he was there for a while. So Sharp is now coming back at Clayton. But De Moya coming for this one once again. Grace, what is it with Grace? He always finds it with really good positions, but he always seems to be defending.
I think he likes a bit of defending, really. But speaking of defending, Revel is trying to hang on to the back of Jabino. He's dropped off ever so slightly. So coming into this tricky part before that long straight again, Revel's going to try mount a challenge down the start straight.
Just looking on board momentarily with De Moya, who's closing. So we go back to Clayton, who's not made that move stick either.
Or he's going to show his nose to the inside. Is he going to do him on the brakes?
I think
side
he
by
is.
side into turn 1.
Revel doesn't like giving these ones up. Jabino's demanded a bit of space on the exit. Revel's going to hang around the outside again, and I think he's got this one done. He's now got the inside for the next 3 corners. So, hard fought battle there. Kyle takes himself up into P10, P9.
PG Brown has now got past Sargent as well. We missed that battle, unfortunately. So G Brown is now up into P11.
Right, making good progress with this Bentley barge. Now can Sargent with his BMW monster following him through. We've got Townsend in P15 trying to put moves on Sharp. Less than half a second is the gap. This is McLaren versus
great
Ferrari.
Flow between those S's there.
Of that livery of Sharp, the bagel run. So Townsend through this section has looked the more content.
Oh, sorry, buddy. I think Richings has had a moment because Clayton and Sharp have now got past Richings. So he must have had a moment somewhere that we missed, unfortunately. But he's now down to P8.
Interesting. So that'll put him in the grass of Revel. Just coming through the first turn now. He's licking his lips at that one. We've got De Moya, who's overtaken Grace. But Grace is going to look to come back.
At him.
Ooh, wanted a cut back, but wasn't available. Now can De Moya scurry away.
Oh, Grace getting a snap on the exit there, just touching the grass on the exit.
And Clayton's the next one on the list for Will Grace, but Clayton's got to see off Sharp first. Sharp is throwing a few lines at Clayton. Going back down towards the bottom of the group, we've got a 3-car fight for P17 led by Kalugin, with Ainley and Kravek in tow. As Ainley gets heavy on the brakes.
Slightly behind that as well, we've got Filomeno and Korkamalakis as well for P20. Molnix is the closest I've seen him to Grave, just under a second now.
Yeah,
you can just see him in the shot of the helicopter cam.
Yeah, so Grave has lost additional time to Bonham here. Now Molnix is under a second. Grave dropped to 1.8 from Bonham. Now, crucially, both of these drivers are in the silver tier, so this is for a class win, this battle. As we only have 3 minutes left of this race, it's flown by. But I think for now, Grape is going to see that off.
And Sharp is still trying to make his inroads to Clayton there, just under half a second.
And Clayton does seem to have this as he goes down the straight. A bit of closing up under braking for Sharp. Molnix now underneath 8/10. We're about to come on the straight. That wasn't the best turn 13 though. Let's put him on the back foot a little bit. I think he's going to run out of laps. This is your last check. Revel has taken a second out of Richings. And Sharp is, he is sticking with Clayton. As they come down the pit straight. Oh, and coming into the final turns, we had Kravik going deep, and Ainley has lost it. Big drift. And this is going to invite Kravik around his outside onto the pit straight. How much speed has he lost? Quite a bit. Ferrari versus Ferrari, and Kravik is almost moving past Ainley like he stood still. But he's got up to speed now into turn 1. Kravik confident on the brakes, gets ahead of Ainley. The mistake was costly.
Ainley fights back though, he's not going to give up.
Big dive into turn 4. Kravik can come back if he puts his power down effectively. There's a small touch. And now they're going to go into the loop of turn 6. Oh, there's another touch to the rear.
There.
There's a thing. Ainley is going to see this one off. onto the straight, unless the Ferrari can find traction of Kravek. Great battle this for P18. As De Moya has pinched the fastest lap up in P4.
35.6 for De Moya there.
Fantastic. So just caught Clayton taking a bit of grass, and that's invited Sharp down the pit straight. Think about a bit of a slipstream, maybe a bit of a go into turn 1. He pulls out, loses all manner of speed, pulls back into slipstream, but the braking zone's there and he's lost his chance.
Revel has dipped under a second to Richings. He's got 1 lap to try and make his move. So you can just see him in the shot of the helicopter cam there, just in front.
Mornick still maintaining that 7 to 8 tenth gap behind Grafe, but not really worrying Grafe at this point.
There's a big trainer car just slightly behind that. You've got Gabino, G Brown, Sargent, who's overtaken Gabino there, but it's not updated. There we go, it's just updated.
So Sargent versus Brown, the final big points. But we are for the moment just going to go back to your leaders, because Brown is rounding the final corner.
Big moment there, Sargent, big on the brakes. Gabino's gone off as well. Both miss their braking points, scurrying across the grass. Sorry, buddy.
It's alright, but Bonham has won the race, followed by Grafe, followed by Mornix. Most of these are going to be decided on the line. De Moya, for the time being at least, are going to come home with P2 in class, P4 on the track, and the fastest lap, so it's a great drive by him. Grace is coming home on hinder with Clayton, followed by Sharp. Richings has got Revel fighting him to the line, and he does just beat him off. We've got Brown with the incident behind him is coming home nicely. Van der Waal in P11. Gabino having to settle for P12 in the end. And Sargent, who did a really good job but lost out towards the end there. And a few lapped cars coming in. Kravek.
I think unfortunately some of the drivers that were stopped on track to return to pits there, and where Revel and Richings were fighting tooth and nail to a line, Revel just went to move out the way in case Richings started to brake, then hit another car.
Sorry, Retro, we have a battle for bragging rights of not coming last. Well, Gedman chasing down Filomeno to the line. The Bentley on the BMW didn't get the best traction at the final turn, and unless he finds some massive power here, looks like Filomeno's going to beat him. And that is it. That is your race 1. So Bonham leading everybody away with a great move into the first turn. Did beat Grafe, who had to see off Mornix for several laps. De Moya coming home with the fastest lap for P2 in class in P4. M. Grace P3 in class in P5. Clayton P6. Sharp P7. And then we have P3 for the silver tier of Richings in P8. Revel P9. Brown in P10. 4th in class for Van der Waal in the silver tier. Gabino wins his tier despite the few offs that he had in P12. Sargent in P13. Townsend P14. Sharp P15. Eden P16. Kalugin P17. Sorry, I just missed that. Townsend P2 in class. Sharp P3 in class. Got Kalugin in P17. Ainley in P18. Kravek in P19. Gorkamlakis, Filomeno, and Gedman finish off the finishes in P20, 21, and 22, and Serfontaine retired 6 laps earlier. So don't go anywhere, anybody. We have another race for you. I know it's getting a bit late with the disruptions that we had, but we have got 40 minutes of action still to bring you, so do not go anywhere. So yeah, quite an eventful race, that Retro.
Yeah, I mean, 20 minutes, race 1, quite spicy. Now to have double the action, double the fun. Hopefully they can survive turn 1, yet again. I mean, great battles there. Say good sends, inside, outside through the S's. One driver's got the inside, then they're fighting and scrambling on the outside. It's definitely going to be an interesting one for the tyre temps and obviously the temperature as well to durate that 40 minutes. It is shortly going to follow in just a second.
Absolutely. So, I don't think the grid was overly stretched either. I mean, they did manage to to keep it quite close. So if we go into the timetable, considering these are 1 minute 40 laps probably in the race trim. Hello, Veldman. Thanks for coming. So yeah, about only maybe a lap down. Don't think they actually got lapped. So they were chased across the line by the leader.
Well, I mean, that's always a good incentive to put your boot fully down when you've got the race leader just shortly coming behind you.
Absolutely. So obviously the crucial question here is, can Grafe do anything about Bonham just swooping around his outside this time around? We've seen it twice already. So yeah, what can we do? What can Grafe do apart from really squeeze Bonham to the wall? Maybe get a bit loose on his brakes, send him to the outside, make sure his car's ahead. The Max Verstappen driving school of racing.
Well, anything can happen.
So yeah, thank you everybody who's still sticking with us. Let us know if you're backing anybody for pinning it, spinning it, or winning it this evening. Let us know who you're supporting. Let us know who you're hoping bins it. We may not read it out on stream, but it'd be funny to see the who's got a target on their back. So yeah, not long now, only a minute 50, and then the cars will drift away. We're going to get a better camera angle for you from the helicopter to follow this round. So yeah, we once again invite you to come and join in with the action in FRL. We do obviously this Assetto Corsa Competizione, Standard Assetto Corsa on PC. We do iRacing, Formula 1, WRC, GT7, you name it. If it's got four wheels and it can be raced in sim leagues, FRL has got you covered. So many of our races are commentated over as well, just like this one. We race multiple days of the week. And yeah, get involved. If you like what you've seen here already, it's been nice, clean racing, very little in the way of incidents, which is what we love to see. Love to see that the racing gets decided by the skills on track, not the penalties issued in the steward's room. As much as I do love a bit of stewarding.
Only when it goes your way.
Hey. I'm hardly ever in the steward's room. Apart from now, you see everybody. If you could join our Patreon, with just £3 a month, you can benefit yourself through driver numbers, early entries, etc. And it can also potentially go towards Veldman getting involved because he doesn't have a console. Not at all suggesting.
I'm waiting for the punchline. He hasn't got a console, but he's got a PC. Oof.
He's got a PC. He's got a PC, and on this stream we try and keep it PC. And off they go. I'm going to get you that camera, which is preferable. Now, that's just a poor excuse for not joining in Super Sprint Sunday Mega Grids. That. How many superlatives you really need in a title of a racing like a racing night to seriously consider not getting involved? We have Super and Mega in the title.
But then shortly followed by us two. I mean, that might be the give or take deal breaker. I mean, who wants to listen to us for 2 hours?
So I can't help but notice that once again, Grafe is sticking in his lane. He's not at all trying to drift towards Bonham. He wants to get that done soon. And off we go. Now Grafe... Oh,
much better launch this time. Just slightly behind when he went 4 wide into turn 1.
Oh, as he gets his nose ahead this time, but Bonham's still through. Grafe tries to fight it back. It's got a lot more elbows out this time. He goes into turn 4. He's ahead. But Bonham's going to find some traction on the outside. Grafe has really got his elbows out, sends Grafe over the curb. He's going to go down into the loop. He gets bounded over the curb. Bonham's going to have to go aggressive here. And then we see the Porsche of Grace in the background diving it through. And he sent somebody wide there. Disaster.
Molnick spun onto the gravel there.
I have not got the correct camera.
Ooh, big lock up onto the straight there from G Brown, testing out his WRC abilities on ACC once again. Avoids the cars in front, but who's that? Korkamalakis, I see. Yellow flag on the grass.
Oh, we've got a few cars yellow flagged in the final sector, but they seem to be up and going again. Don't seem to have lost the pack.
So
further ahead we have Sharp
off Bonham.
And Revel getting dicey to the penultimate corner, and Revel has won that one out. So I'm just going to try one more time to get this camera while we're navigating the straight. Yep, and there we go. And Bonham is not let go of Grafe just yet.
So just behind you got Richings and Jabino. Oh, big tap from Richings into the back of Jabino there.
So Jabino in the walls once again.
Serpentine goes through. Revel goes through. Sharp also goes through.
And Brown is there as well. I think Sharp's still trying to work this one out.
Oh, bit of rubbing.
And that is Ainley.
Ferraris there.
Ainley's capitalising with the opportunities that were offered to Sharp. Ainley thought he'd have an opportunity as well.
Oh, Bonham's got off on the grass.
And he's going to rejoin.
Bleed out here.
And that lets Grace through with Eden closely behind. So, the script has been flipped. Look at the gap Grafe has managed to drag out there. And Eden, with clean tyres, on the back of Bonham, is going to keep him honest for a few laps at least. And Serpentine up in P5. What an advancement.
So if he can keep this momentum going and hopefully take the checkered flag this race, he's going to want to get that win for his tier. His closest rivals down in P12.
Yeah, another flipped script in this race. I see Brown closing in on Ainley down the straight, but I think he's going to run out of the straight. But further ahead we've got Sharp and Richings. That Sharp going around the outside of Richings. And Ainley catches that up in quick succession.
So just in front of that we've got Revel all over the back of Serpentine for the fight for P5. So Serpentine gets a great drive then, just pulled away from him.
As we see further down that Molnix has set the fastest lap. And Van der Waal super close on Sharp.
You've got Richings and Ainley going at it once again. I think Ainley gave Richings a tap, moves past him, doesn't seem to be flashing.
No push to overtake was used there. And Brown has to hit the anchors to stay out of the back of Richings.
So I see a car across the grass. Who is that? 71, Van der Waal completely cut the track there.
And now he's under pressure from De Moya, who cuts underneath. With another car ahead off the grass. We only saw the dust. That's De Moya. Oh, as we see Sharp round the outside. Wow, what is going on there? And that was Sharp with an enormous dive round the outside. How often do you see people overtake there? And now Mulnix, who was previously the fastest man on track, now got a run on him. Closing with his Ferrari. Flicks the inside. Slipstream is lost, but now he's got a clean line for the braking. Braking's coming very shortly. And Mulnix dives through. With Van der Waal looking to regain some places as well.
That's a lapped car of Clayton in between the top runners. I thought the timing screen was incorrect, but no, it is right. Grace is P2. Bonham now has got the fastest lap in P3. They do have a blue flag marker of Clayton in between P1 and 2 there.
So just picked up Revel, who's putting a lot of pressure on Serpentine still. And they're going to come into turn 8. Revel's just going to play it safe for now. Maximise his
also
traction.
joined this as well. Little freeway fight for P5.
P5 currently being clinched by a driver 2 tiers below them.
61, De Moya has just reset to pits.
Oh, he was doing so well as well. And it looks like this battle, Serpentine is catching Eden ahead. So this is now the battle for P4.
So Bonham is half a second behind Grace now. He has got a grit in his teeth. So his second home turf track, Indianapolis.
And he's alongside. We've seen him make moves down the outside. Here goes an easy one. Down the inside, provided he can get it stopped. Yes, he can.
Defended very well from Bonham there.
So now Sharp, Revel and Serpentine still battling it out for P4. So Serpentine had a little bit of a wobble coming through turn 5. Revel choosing a wide line, cuts it off to the Sharp behind. Serpentine having another snap, but managing to carry good speed. Van der Waal, who's taken a bag full of grass to stick in his boot. There you go, relay it down in his garden.
So give credit where credit's due. Grace is still just about hanging on to the back of Bonham. He's not broke half a second away from him yet. It does close up very nicely on the brakes there.
So I think that is Sharp through on Revel. We just missed that, but Revel is going to come back. So we just flicked away from that battle. Sharp goes a little bit defensive. Revel doesn't see the straight line speed to get alongside into the first turn. Potentially ploy, maybe let Sharp go after Serpentine. Let him have that battle with the driver from the 2 tiers below. Got Brown and Jabino fighting it out. And Brown has overtaken Jabino. I don't think, in this section at least, that Brown's going to be caught once he gets his foot down. Jabino under traction though, around the loop. Does seem to be holding on. Now Grace does just seem to be backing off from Bonham that little bit. Oh, Van der Waal and the other Sharp down in P14 and 15. Van der Waal wanting to recover from his earlier mishap.
I think Bonham is making inroads to Grafe. The gap is now under 5 seconds. It was 5.3 when I last looked. It's now 4.9.
Oh, as we have Sharp, a really good run on Serpentine initially, but in the second phase of the acceleration, he drops back and invites Revel into the mix. Revel with the greater closing speed on the straight, but Sharp is closing on Serpentine ever still. Could we end up with a 3-wide battle into the braking? No, they Constantine are up and fly through turn 1 in the formation. And
down the bottom we've got Kalugan. Oh, Kalugan just hit Filomeno straight in the back there. Stops on track to give him the place back, but...
And that was Townsend that was allowed through. Does seem to just be hanging on to Brown for the moment, but with a bit of clean air, Brown should now extend this, which he does, now up to almost a second. So Serpentine doing his best to defend this. Just seems to be lacking a bit of pace on the two behind him. As we have a car off towards the back, that's Kukamalakis, who's reset to the pits. So what can Sharp do? Here's the opportunities again without the pressure from Revel this time. Eden has gapped this just a little bit, almost 2 seconds.
Sharp's got a great drive out the final corner.
Ferrari power versus Ferrari power with a slipstream and maybe a slightly lower wing. This is move worthy. He's going to throw it under the brakes. They touch. Sharp's going to fight this around the outside, which then becomes the inside. And is a move well made. But now Revel on the back of this, seeing Serpentine vulnerable. To an alternate wider line. Serpentine is not giving up. It's still very much there. As Grafe, I've noticed, has put Bonham back outside that 5-second cushion they fought so hard to get.
Just flicking through the pack, see some of his battles. I think G Brown is struggling with his brakes there. Once again, misses the braking point down the straight. Missing the BMW once again. Got Molnix closing on Jabino. Big on the brakes there. Fighting for P13, or sorry, P12.
So yeah, this, aside from the wet weather conditions, this track does not seem to be favouring the Lamborghini. I'm taking note. So yeah, if you do want to see how your commentators do racing around this track, come and catch us on Tuesday, on Taco Tuesday. There's a consideration of a move by Molnix there, but nothing too speculative.
So Revel is still biting that Serpentine there with P6.
We'll just have to get out from underneath him there. Bonham cuts into Grace lead once again by about 0.3.
So even though Serpentine is an AM class driver, he hasn't got a yield to the Pro Tier. Racing is racing. Overall
sorry, Retro, just picking up Sargent, who almost had a run on Brown there. This is not a battle that was ongoing. This was very much separated for a while. And that is just ahead of Jabino, so Jabino might be able to use this against Molnix as a bit of defence. Unless Molnix can manufacture a move into the braking zone for turn 13. Is this going to be unlucky 13? for Jabinho. Jabinho turns in and he's sent over the curb. Hard, but pretty fair pass by Mornix there. No, still closing on Serpentine. Serpentine then goes deep over the grass, and that's Kyle through. Just like that. Kyle made it a war of attrition, and he won that over Serpentine.
Now look at Sharp just in front, is now 6/10 behind Eden.
Yeah, he's done a great job. I mean, Eden's very much been leading this battle fourth. Just kept his distance for a short while. But now what Kyle's going to want, he's going to want these two fighting tooth and nail, because Kyle's got a bit of a gap to bring back in.
Just down the bottom we had a timing of 3/10 from Gedman to Townsend, fighting it out for P16 there. I think he just backed off a little bit there. And so Jay Sharp in front, Van der Wall going at it.
So I'm picking up A Sharp, who's only about 3/10 down on Eden. Now this section is all about settling the straight, making a position up in this very strange chicane that cuts into the NASCAR track. And that is a great drive from Sharp. He's staying in the slipstream. He pulls out now. He's going to trust that his Ferrari power can do all the work over the McLaren. So he has to be brave here. Aims straight for the apex. Gets his car fully ahead. Well controlled. Ainley just stay in touch with Richings here. So Sharp promoted into P4. Revel though just cut that time in half. He's only 1.3 now behind Eden, his next competitive car. And I've just picked up further down Retro, and P14 Van der Wall is keeping Sargent honest here. He's under half a second. I'm assuming he'd like that to be about 2 or 3/10 before he can really start to trouble Sargent.
So Revel now 1.1 behind Eden. They're just slightly behind that. We've got Mornix closing up on Jabino for P11.
Oh,
Mornix shows his nose there.
But it does look like the Lamborghini does have good traction, nothing else around this track.
So the gap from Bonham to Grafe is now 3.9 seconds.
So Bonham finally pulling his finger out and putting in the lap time so anybody
lap with a 1:35.8 from Bonham there.
Yeah, absolutely insane pace for when you're about halfway through this race. It does get on the grass a little bit though in the exit. It's clearly pushing very hard. And Mornix has got past Jabino, it's just not updated yet.
And so just down in P14, buddy, Sargent and Sharp getting quite close through the twisties there. I think the grunt of the BMW is just going to pull away from the Ferrari.
So
I think Grace is struggling a little bit there because Sharp's catching Grace quite considerably. Gap's only 1.1. I think it's going to be a little bit less when he gets to the timing line.
He's dropping a fair bit off Bonham as well. I'm still on board with Sharp and Sargent. Sharp, sorry, needs the exit of all exits to really make a launch on this BMW, the barge. So yeah, almost equal down the straight, even with slipstream. Ooh. The dive was made. I just had to flick off it, but then a dive was thrown by Sargent. By Sharp, sorry, on Sargent. So Revel now closing on Eden.
The gap to Sharp and Grace is just under 4/10 now.
Yeah, pressure's on for this point of the race. A bit
Gap
midway.
from Bonham to Grafe is now 2.7. Sorry, buddy. He is crunching them numbers, but he has got the back marker of Clayton in between them two at the moment. He's got 19 minutes to possibly pull out 2.7 seconds.
It's a tall order, especially when Bonham is taking nearly a second out of you in the last every lap for the last 3 laps.
So Clayton does a respectable thing, moves out down the straight. Nice to see, good sportsmanship, buddy. So what's that going to mean is Sharp's in front of Grace.
Oh wow! So Sharp on one almighty charge. Don't count him out for a podium spot. But you say that, but those behind him, Revel, Eden, Grace, they're all still there. Podium could be on for any one of these 4. I'll flip back to Ainley. He's chasing Richings down. Looking a lot more confident on those tyres. As he's around the loop. Ooh, then he has to get out from underneath the Ferrari of Riching. Otherwise he would have one hell of a drive off the loop. Grace just dropping back from Sharp just ever so slightly. For every bit he drops off, you're going to find that Eden and Revel are going to be ready to pounce. Just making their dinner look even tastier. Oh, they're so close through this section.
Oh, sorry, buddy. You got Richings on the grass there. You got G Brown in between Ainley and Richings there.
So yeah,
so I
Richings.
did see Richings on the grass there, but G Brown, great drive from the Bentley barge.
Yeah, this should be done long before the pit entry, the first turn, and it looks like Ainley's coming for it as well. He's partially alongside. Is he going to attempt Brown as well? He does. Oh my God, what a move! 2 cars in one corner, then Brown, assuming that he was still ahead of Richings, turns into him on the exit. Nothing too major, but there was a touch, definitely.
So Bonham is 1.7 behind Grafe now.
Where's he just found this speed at like nearly over 30% of the way through the race? Just all of a sudden decides to turn up the wick and just starts chasing Grafe down.
No, maybe he's tuning into his American dream. So his home turf, Bonham. He wants to take that win back to back.
As Brown is rediving Richings, and he's got him. That was into turn 8. We've got to Eden, who on Grace looks a lot more aggressive, a lot more punchy. Grace looks like he's trying to carry himself home for this P4.
So P4 on track, we're currently P3 in class. But Revel behind Eden's going to get the slipstream. We've seen him do this move plenty of times. He's going to send the move into turn 1, breaks out the slipstream.
So he coaxes them to try and come into the track. He's up the inside. He's going to... Oh, I thought he was going to run out of space with Grace, but he does get fully ahead by turn 2. Well done. What a move. We go back down to Ainley versus Brown. Both drivers make good progress. I can't notice that Kravek has Gedman in front of him. He's only 3/10 down.
Oh no, I didn't see what happened there, but Sargent spun round there of his own accord, but say he's still going, but say ego is damaged after that one.
As he now finds himself behind car 33, which I think
Which is
one of
Jay
the...
Sharp.
Yeah.
Ooh, Eden having a moment there, cutting across the grass. He's going to lose a bit of time to Revel there.
I think he's lost more than that. I think he's lost the place. He has.
Well, Eden was already behind Revel from turn 1.
Oh, yes, sorry.
I'd say Bonham a second between him and Grafe. 14 minutes remain of this race.
No, as Grafe managed to keep anything in the tank to apply to this race. Something that you can do, a defensive tactic, a burst of speed. What has he got to defend himself from the man who's taking this championship by storm? As I just flick onto Molnix, who's not been so smooth, having to flick his car away from going to the outside pit wall. Brown just watches Ainley go and take the very wide line. Bonham under a second now. This means business. Now, the last time somebody had to spend several laps defending from Bonham, it was Muller, and he bottled it. So what can Bonham do to unsettle, to put the seed of doubt into Grafe's mind?
Now, speaking of seed of doubt, you've got Molnix and Richings there. So it was half a second gap there. Molnix going for a big dive. Great move.
Yeah, impeccable move there by Molnix. Saw an opportunity and took it.
So Revel is still just slightly sitting behind Grace. He's still just under a second. He needs to put his foot down if he wants to get a podium. So they had a great battle last week on Kota between Revel and Grace. So Grace putting the absolute defensive masterclass on. Can Revel break that tonight? So half a second, he's gaining down the straight.
Ooh,
big on the brakes there from Revel.
So Van der Waal is now re-engaged with Jabino as they come down the pit straight. He's closing, but I don't think it's going to be quite enough for turn 1.
Bonham half a second.
He shows his nose, and he commits the brakes. How does he get that stopped and turned and stay out of the way of Jabino, who took the corner as fast as he could? Oh, as Van der Waal has a bit of a moment, loses it on the exit of turn 2. Oh yeah, Brown and Ainley. I think I saw Brown as he flicked to him, just got his nose up the inside, but backed out. Brown now with an outside line, an incentive to make a move around the outside.
So Brown struggled with this corner for most of the race. He does seem to hit the apex this time.
Yeah, sliding through they go. Now Bonham under half a second. Remember, go back maybe 20 minutes ago. That gap was a comfy, warm 6 seconds. And now Bonham has just relentlessly closed this gap. And he's lassoing him in. This win is definitely on the line.
I mean, both Both drivers are going to win in class. But I mean, it's the ultimate bragging right of taking P1 on track.
Yeah, I mean, quite dramatic at this point for either of them to lose the lead in class. But when you're that far clear...
Ooh, Bonham getting a snap onto the back straight there. He's pushing that hard, costing him a couple of tenths maybe.
So just picking up Brown, closing in on Ainley, who's just started losing him this lap. But this is inviting Mulnix in. Mulnix, you probably won't make a move through here. And into turn 8. Takes a wide line, tries to slingshot the entry. This is a good line. Oh, there's watch out to Ainley there. He just needs to take that corner a lot faster than most people do. He's Bonham. He just had the manners spotting him a little bit. He's back to 7 tenths.
Also, look at this, Grace and Revel down the straight, bumper to bumper, down the start straight. Grace putting his defensive class on once again, sending Revel to the outside.
But they picked up marbles from going that far on the inside, and Revel knows it. Round the outside he goes, gets his car ahead for the turn 2. Great experienced, hard and fair driving by the two of them. But Revel is now ahead, which now brings him up to P3 in class. And that is Brown and Mulnix getting through on Ainley. So complete flipping of positions there. Oh, that's Mulnix. Mulnix has gone for a dig in the sand. I'm not sure if that was a tap from Ainley there. You know, Eden.
Commentator's curse. Bonham's back under half a second to Grafe.
But turn 1 comes just in time for Grafe. They're going to go at it again. Bonham still maintaining that same gap, under half a second, but now just dropping back slightly. Yeah, just out of shot, Grafe. He's doing well. He's got 7 minutes left to survive. There's Chabino did a great job. As much as a handful that Lamborghini looks, he's holding it in a solid position. It's his second in class. I know he's nowhere near Serpentine as it currently stands, but it's solid and respectable nonetheless. And Brown just dropping off Ainley behind him. So yeah, the field a little bit more stretched now. There are a few lap cars still amongst the leaders. Now, could this be double trouble for Grace? He was previously in P4. Is he have to drop down to P6 to make way for Eden? Certainly looks like it. He's got one hell of a traction. Gonna back off this corner. Loses a bit of speed because of the line he took. And he loads up the car. See, it looks for a slipstream. He should get one at that distance. Only half a second, and that McLaren is faster in a straight line. Eden does very well on the brakes. And Bonham. Oh my, look how close it is. You can almost lasso the rear wing of Grafe there. See, as I mentioned before, in these latter stages, the pack very stretched. We've only got 5 minutes left to go. So only maybe 3 laps as we go on Ainley, and he has taken a lot of speed through the loop, and he's gone wide. Doesn't lose any positions to Richings yet, but Richings is going to come up behind him very, very quickly. So the battles we're paying attention to are Grafe and Bonham. Grace versus Edom, which you can see right now. Maybe even Klugen versus Townsend down at the bottom there. We got to battle for the lead because they're now on the pit straight. And we're going to see if straight line speed alone, if Bonham can actually catch at all on Grafe. It would appear from the exit that the GTR does get better traction, which is why 2/10 has been lost in the last sector.
So he does close up quite nicely in this technical part of the trap. Once the GTR just opens all its cylinders down the straight, he just pulls away from him.
Yeah, it's like superior traction in the Nissan. And the wall still chasing down Jabino. Now Eden's so close on the back of Grace. Almost pushed him through turn 8. Yeah, despite how long these straights are, the way you come onto them doesn't deliver a great offset in speed. Bonham still holding on. 8/10 is the gap. This is for the ultimate bragging rights. I mean, they've got some bragging rights over there too. I can't have a notice, Retro, but Sharp is closing up ever so slightly. I don't think he's got quite enough time to do anything about that, but he is closing up, and that's a great showing this late on in the race. Richings, obviously, still capitalising on the mistake that Ainley made about a lap ago. Yeah, Eden and Grace still going. But just like the Nissan GTR, it looks like this infield section is the bit where the Porsche thrives. Or the Nissan thrives. And it looks like so many of these battles are going to come down to the last lap. Unless than the battle for the lead. But for the moment at least we can still board Richings and Ainley, because it looks like Richings is going to have a bit of a... We can sort out his acceleration now. I think he's just got a bit of a drift. It's amazing what you can do when you're just driving perfectly, no mistakes. You can hide a lot of speed deficit. Ooh, as Richings looks like he bumped Ainley there, coming through the chicane in the final sector.
Yeah, leader on final lap from race control there. I don't think Bonham's going to quite get the move done on Grafe, but it's a great recovery drive from Bonham.
So they're dropping 2 positions near the start of the race, and then being on for the race win at the end, even if he doesn't get it. It'll be quite the fight. So this has been a fantastic pace from Grafe, using a car that hardly anybody uses, the Nissan GTR, but finding a way to gel it to himself and make it work. Oh, as we did just catch Grafe there, taking a bit of grass. That would invite Bonham up a little bit, maybe only about a tenth or two. And these are the final chances. There's the braking into turn 13. Where if you've got on your brakes and really make a difference, there's a lot of time to be gained there. It does seem that Graves got this under wraps. Because there he is. There's your race leader navigating. Couple more turns. The blue flag's going off ahead.
Yeah,
and now
Gedman getting out of the way.
Yeah. And now Grafe, all he's got to do is power up to the line. Hope Bonham stays put. And Grafe is your race 2 winner. What a drive from the Silver Tier driver. And Bonham comes home with a long hard fought battle as well. Followed by Sharp. Followed by Revel, which is another great recovery drive. And then Grace in P5, who fell down a little bit. Followed by Eden, who I think retained his starting position in the end. Serpentine flipped the script with Jabinho. Very well noted. G Brown in P8. Ainley fought hard and comes home in P11 as Richings and Mornix just come through. I wonder if he's out of fuel. I'm sure he just let this few couple of cars through there. There's Jabinho, Van der Waal, and Sharp rounding off the podium positions for the AM tier. And Sargent, who's in a lot of wars today, well, by Townsend, who I think has just been overtaken by Kalugin. Yes, he has. On the final lap, Kalugin has snatched a position from Townsend. Just bear with us, Bonham. We're still finishing everybody off. We have Kravek coming off the line and putting on a little bit of a pirouette for us. So we're just going to go through your final standing positions. So that is Grafe with a fantastic job to lead Bonham off for the win. 2 out of 3 times Bonham had him beaten off the start, but this time Grafe picked him off and couldn't get him back. Bonham fought back after early defeats and pulled himself back into P2. Sharp in P3 with a second in class, with Revel doing a great job to bring himself back to P4, to bring a third in class. With Grace in P5, Eden in P6, Serpentine in P7, Brown in P8, Serpentine with the AM win, G Brown in P8, Richings P9, Mulnix in P10, which rounds up the podium for the silver tier. It's quite a spread there. Ainley in P11, Jabinho with P2 in the AM tier in P12, Van der Waal in P13, Sharp, J Sharp that is, in P14 with a third place podium in the AM tier. Fourth. Sargent P15, Cluey P16, Townsend P17, Kravek P18, Gedman P19, Clayton P20, and then cars that had a few laps down, Fenomeno, Komalakis, De Moya, who showed great early promise. He must have got quite significant damage in P23. But we have Bonham here, who was quite the eventful race. So yeah, unfortunately, your trick from the start didn't quite work the final round.
No, he caught on pretty quickly. He was braking a hair earlier, and so I just tried to get the edge on him on the outside to at least stay level with him through turn 1, so I had the inside for turn 2. It worked the first 2 times. Third time it did not. So no, good on him. No,
and your mistake that let was it Sharp through? It dropped you down to P3. Grace, yeah. So Grace really fell off after that.
Yeah, somebody took out the braking board going down that back straight. I don't know if it was, I think it might have been Townsend, but yeah, I took it out and I had no idea. So the second board that's, just beyond the normal braking board, I assumed was the one I usually shoot for. And so overshot my braking point by a mile and almost took myself and Grafe out doing it. But Yeah, I went off track and gave up probably 7 seconds to Grafe, and then fell to third. So
Yeah. And then you
had
got
to
the
climb
position
out.
back from Grace. And then you did
Yes.
seem to stick around that 5 second gap for a good section of the race there before you really started reeling the time. Is there any particular reasoning for that? Tyre temps? Or.
Not not particularly. Grafe was just rattling off some really good times. It seemed like when I still had probably 60 liters on board, like 36.2, 36.3 was kind of where I was, and he was hitting 36 zeros. So once his tires started to fall off a little bit, I think he made a few mistakes, and that allowed me to start reeling him in, and I was bringing him back in a couple tenths a lap. But once I got within a second of him, I couldn't really do much with him. The straight line speed was really good that he had, and I could get close, but not enough to really make him sweat, I don't think.
Nah, he looked well in control of that. Very, very minimal mistakes from Grafe there. Um, so yeah, it was entertaining to watch. I mean, uneventful race for you as in comparison to a few others, but all the same, very tactical, very intense race for you. I'm sure. Um, so yeah, I mean, how were you feeling? I mean, the first couple of starts that you did for the double race one, but you felt like an absolute god making that move around the outside, and probably wondering why the race directors have pole on the right hand side.
Yeah, that is something that I thought about. Because having the inside into turn one doesn't really do you a lot of good there, right? You're much better off having the inside into turn two. But I mean, the most important thing today was you had to get a quality lap in that first lap, which I mean, it was what I want to say, greasy or damp by the time you could actually come around for your flyer. But if you didn't get a lap in there, you were just you were
Yeah.
going to tumble back, and
Yeah, I
you were
mean,
kind of screwed.
we saw you probably set more laps than anybody to no improvement whatsoever. You
It
maybe have
wasn't even
one lap
close.
of improvement. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't even close. At that point, it was just like, well, the race might be wet, so we'll take this time and try to dial in some tire pressures. But there was no point to really quality after the first like 2-3 minutes.
But people
If
did
it makes
try.
you feel any better, buddy, I just messaged, obviously, Grave just to say congratulations. He said thanks. Bonham behind me was stressing me out. So the Bonham effect was working, mate. I think maybe 10 minutes more, maybe a couple of minutes more, I think you probably would have worked your magic.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he ran a great race though, and to put the time he did on that one lap in quali, because his pole time was the very first flyer lap. Really impressive. He got me by almost half a second, I think, and I didn't have a particularly bad lap for being in those conditions on slick. So, no, good on him. He ran a hell of a race, and he stayed right with me for the most part. Race one too. He was about a second and a half behind me for the majority of it. Maybe the last couple minutes, I think he had to defend against third place, but he had a hell of a day. He ran really, really well.
But yeah, absolutely. A really dramatic race start of the grid, and the grid was incredibly competitive. I think only maybe a couple of drivers were lapped for ones that didn't actually go to the pits. Um, so yeah, it's really tactical one, really hard pressed. It's really told me a lot about what I can expect when me and Retro attempt this on Tuesday. Um,
I think when I attempt this on Tuesday, I think I'll be testing all of Gedman's barrier safety inspections, because I think watching you guys do it, it looks easy, but then when you do it yourself, it's completely different. It's just what separates the men between the boys.
Yeah, today wasn't too bad. Thursday here on late night, I think it was damp or greasy the majority of the race, and so we were on slicks for all of it basically, and yeah, that was very difficult. That Thursday was extremely tough. Today being dry, not as bad, but still, Indy's a tough track, and it's being so flat. You just start sliding around, and once your tires start going, it's like it just compounds on itself, and
yeah, I mean,
it just gets more and more tricky.
yeah, so many of the battles that we saw were down to just the smallest of mistakes, allowing the gaps to come down. Because people were very consistent this evening, but you were having to press people into these small little drifts to get the moves done. So yeah, it was really really fun one to watch from a tactical perspective.
Well, I'll be excited to watch it back, later this evening, because it sounded like there was a lot of action in the mid pack. So I'll be excited to watch that back and see what was happening.
Well, we hope you enjoy it. We're going to invite a driver or two more into the chat. So thank you for speaking to us, and we see you again next week.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys on the call, and yeah, we'll talk to you then.
Yeah.
Who else have we got lined up?
We have Rebel. Told him
Has
to
he
go in his
remembered
best.
to take his PG mouth out?
I've pre-warned him. And here we are. So the man who had one of the more eventful races, that battle for just outside the podium or just on the podium, usually goes to Kyle Revel. So how do you feel about that?
Oh, I'm achy and I'm sweating everywhere.
Like you were in a real car.
Oh, it feels like I've done an hour at the gym, I'm not going to lie.
So, remind us again, where did you start from? Because we saw you overtake a lot of people, but I was trying to think, how many positions has he actually gained?
I started P14, but there was an issue on the grid, so there was an empty slot on the outside, so the Porsche next to me kept getting a better load, so I was 15th before I even put my foot down. But yeah, it was P14 for both races. I had an issue with my wheel in qualifying and couldn't get out in time, so I just had to push it in the wet and be like, uh-oh.
So, how many? So, so you finished P4 in the end. Have we ever got that right?
Yeah, P4 race 2, yeah.
P4. So, out of the 10 positions, I mean, we saw you fight hard for a whole bunch of them. Was there quite a lot in the first lap, or were they all done like every 4 minutes, so to speak?
No, a lot was first couple of corners. I think I got up to P9, roughly. Obviously, I managed to get a switch to the outside line, which is a lot better for the start around here. You don't really want to be on the inside line for turn 1, I find. So I managed to get out there.
Yeah, that's what we was just discussing with Bonham, because it's all well and good being on the inside for turn 1, but as soon as turn 2 comes immediately straight after,
yeah,
you want to be on the outside.
The turn 2 is the trickiest, because it's not a braking corner, it's more of a lift. And obviously, if you're on the dirtiest side, the car washes, so you kind of want to be on that inside for 2. So yeah, I managed to get to the outside, and then it was just mainly keep the nose out of any problems, which I managed to do. Yeah. So I was happy about that.
So I can't remember which race it was, race 1 or race 2, where we saw you do a very, very bold double overtake into the first turn. I think you had to give one of the positions back eventually. But
yeah.
Was that preconceived, or was that kind of, oh, my braking point's here, so I'll make the most of it?
No, so it was... I know exactly which one you're on about, and without going into too much and upsetting anybody, a driver in front of me decided to change his line very late, shall we say. So I had to actually take avoiding action of him to then I somehow made it up the inside of, I think it was a McLaren, and I nearly got Brown as well. But yeah, that was not... I saw them coming quickly and I thought, oh no. This is not going to end well, but I managed to get it. The braking on the Ferrari for turn 1, it's got to be the best I've seen out of the cars that I've passed today. Like, I could brake so much later, but yeah, that one was a total fluke that I didn't expect.
So after that, obviously you did a steady string of overtakes. I think it was race 2 where you did actually give a position up behind when you were behind Grace. I think that was the Sharp.
Yes, so I was behind Serpentine. I know, obviously, this is my first season in the Ferrari. I'm not my McLaren pace yet, and Sharp's quite a lot quicker. We had a nice gap behind Sharp, so my idea was that I let Sharp go, I take that hit on that place. Because, you know, let's face it, could I keep Sharp behind? It would have been difficult. But because of the gap, it was then more of all I have to do now is look forward. I don't have to think about defending from Sharp. I can just attack. So that was kind of why I let Sharp go. And to be fair, I think it worked out pretty well. I finished probably where I should have done.
Yeah, I mean, you got Surf and Tane in the end.
Yeah.
And so what was the initial issue with Surf and Tane? Because we couldn't quite work out. You were closing on him. You were clearly the faster car, but you couldn't seem to make that overtake.
No. There's a few little things I need to change on the setup going for Taco, because the only way I could describe it is it was like driving the 2014 F1 Ferrari. It was understeer and oversteer at the same time. It was not great, and it was not very nice in dirty air. But I mean, credit to Serpentine, he knew where to place the car. He knew if I was close enough where to put it. And again, offline it's quite hard, apart from turn one, to slip it into a place to get enough to have the space. But I mean, it was one of them at that point. You just kind of have to make yourself big in the mirrors and hope they make a mistake, which I got lucky and he did. So
yeah, I mean, for the length of the straights here, overtaking did seem difficult to set up. Not necessarily to be done, but difficult to set up. It was very hard to draw up the back of a car, stay close for the corners that you needed to, and then drive onto the straight with any sort of intent. So you're saying you were dramatically affected by the dirty air, which just made that close to impossible?
I'm not sure if it was just dirty air. I think the front end of my car was very washy at the best of times. So, it just made it a lot more difficult to try and tuck into somebody to get the run out. But again, the thing about the Ferrari is it might be nice in the corners. It is not one of the quickest on the straights, and when you're going up against Porsches, McLarens, it's difficult. But yeah, the dirty air didn't help, but I do think it was more my setup related. Wasn't quite how I liked it. So.
Well, what's just popped up in the Discord for anybody that's listening and still listening onto the stream, Taco Tuesday announcement is that it's going to be wet. So everything that you've seen this evening, apart from the qualifying, is going to be almost irrelevant. So get your wet setups ready, lads, because it's going to be a wet one.
And you can see I've already reacted with a crying face with it, because it's going to be painful.
It's going to be very painful. But no, we've still yet to do the drivers of the day. So we'll let you go, Kyle. Thank you for joining us, and I'm sure we'll speak to you after.
Yep, no worries. Have a good one.
I know. So, Retro, so if we were to go through let's see if we can get hold of it. So, race 2. So, out of the pro tier drivers, I think based on the amount of positions that he gained, how clean he kept it, I think this is going to have to be another submission for driver of the day for Mr. Revel.
I think it is, buddy. So starting from P14 to take it all the way to the podium on race 2, as you said, he was struggling with setup and not quite having the straight line speed, but some of the moves under braking, you can't not give it to Revel for that.
Yeah, so that's our one for pro tier. Well done to him. For the silver tier,
I think there's no other man than the man himself, is there?
Yeah, Mr. Grafe, who learned from his I want to say even called them mistakes, his missed opportunities in the first 2 iterations of race 1, learned from it and put on a masterclass of a defensive display for the first lap, and then just held the position and sweated itself away. So yeah, I'm in agreement that the nomination for the driver of the day in the silver tier is Grafe. And for the AM tier, we haven't got too many to choose from. In fact, only 4 of them, seeing as the others finished laps out. So look at race 1 as well. I think it's going to have to go to maybe Jabinho, because he actually was more consistent than Serfontaine across the 2 races. Unless I could maybe give a nod to Sharp as well. He was involved in a lot of battles and really held his ground in the mid-pack. But I'll let you pick between those 2, maybe.
So it's quite difficult to obviously pinpoint someone in the AM class if there's only, say, 2 of them. Obviously Serfontaine, for whatever reason, obviously didn't quite make race 1. Jabinho, obviously struggling in the Lamborghini, as I did keep his wits about him and say took the car to the line. I mean, Sharp as well, great battles. I think maybe saw 1 or 2 incidents maybe, but again, it's tough to split the drivers to pin it on one. But so I think probably I'd give it to Sharp, you know,
Yeah,
just for the amount of inaction that he had this evening.
absolutely. So there you have it. So Revel, Grafe and J Sharp are our nominations. If admin can pick that up, or if not, we'll drop it in the comments. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for sticking around and watching all the way to the end. Thank you to those who are going to come back and watch us later and enjoying the content. FRL is your place to be. We've said it many times over. Drop a comment if you want to join in. We'll send you the necessary links to get involved. Join the Patreon. Follow us wherever you can. Facebook, SimGrid, wherever. And yeah, like and subscribe to the stream. We're coming here every single week and several times throughout the week to different commentators, different events. So yeah, have a good evening, and we'll see you next Sunday.
Yeah,
Bye
take
now.
care, guys.